Right.
We are live.
We are live. And
Hello,
we are
Mr.
live.
Ryan T.
Hello, Max. How are you?
I'm awesome, and welcome everybody that's watching this all around the world, all around the internet.
And all the entities, hello.
Hello, entities. Nice to see you again.
Nice for you
all these
to see
entities that we haven't cleared yet.
Yeah.
They're not ready to go.
Well, they don't have to go. They can join us and have some fun together.
Exactly, and I think let's talk about that a little bit to begin with. Not
Mm-hmm.
all entities are there to be cleared. Clearing is one of the 4 things that you'll ever do with entities: clearing, communicating, receiving, cooperating. So clearing is only just a part of it, and that's why I was making a bit of a joke about all the entities that we haven't cleared yet. Which is entities will only clear when they're ready to go. When they're ready to make a different choice, essentially, because clearing facilitates choice for entities. So there's plenty of other things, like entities, like Ryan said, many of them will be here to participate, to contribute, to be a pain in the ass, they still have their stuff going on, whatever it is, they're still here.
I remember when I first learned Talk to Entities 11 or 12, almost 12 years ago, somehow I thought that the reason why we learn this is because we want to clear entities. That's what I thought in the beginning. And this is also what I have noticed that a lot of people do is like wherever they go, let's say they check into a hotel room, the first thing is like, I need to clear all the entities.
Right.
I no longer do that. And so Shannon gave me let me put it this way. I heard Shannon say that in one of the classes many years ago, she said that like in her house, there are entities. And I was like, what? You don't
Not
have
just me, by the way.
So I was like, what? You don't have to clear all of them? So that's what changed my point of view about like coexisting with entities.
Yeah.
So it's like you only clear them if it makes your life easier.
Or you get paid for it.
Yes. Well, that makes your life easier as well in some way.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if people just want to clear all the entities, even if it doesn't make their life greater or better or easier, this is actually still a lot of misconception and a lot of judgments about entities. It's like, well, they are bad, they are wrong, we need to clear them.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. What if talk to the entities, talking with entities, all of that is actually about perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. So if you just went with the point of view of I have to clear, that's like a massive conclusion to begin with. And what I've found using the tools of talk to the entities and access more and more and more and more over years, like it's all really like the example Ryan said, like you walk into a hotel room. What if it was about perceiving first and foremost, your awareness? You actually let down your walls and barriers and expand out, and you perceive what is there. Because a lot of dealing with entities is perceiving who are these entities? What is their deal? Actually being interested in what's showing up, and then what's possible, what's required, what would create more ease, what would create greater. And then that's where you step into, okay, clearing or communicating or receiving, cooperating, and all of the other tools that fall within those, essentially. So it's being the question in this whole thing, and this is a big key of cooperating with entities. You're actually part of the situation. You're not trying to dominate the situation.
So for those people that just want to clear entities and they clear entities as the first thing they do, that is more like a reaction. It's like, oh, there are entities here. We need to clear them. And look at it this way. So let's say if you are an entity, that's not a good imagination, but let's say if you are an entity.
Essentially, you without a body.
Yes. I mean,
and less thoughts.
In the future, okay? Whenever that is. So when you don't have a body and you are an entity, do you want people to, like, as soon as they perceive you, they just react in a way like, please go away?
Or that you don't even exist, first and foremost. They're like, no, I have an itchy face. But there's no entities there.
And then you're like, hey, hello, I'm here. And then people just like, no, no such thing. I must be hallucinating. I'm thinking too
I'm
much.
crazy.
Oh yeah. And then you're
All of
like,
you
but
guys, all of you guys that have decided you're crazy rather than crazy aware, would you destroy and uncreate all of that?
right and wrong, good and bad, pop and pot, all nine shorts, boys, poets, and beyonds.
Yeah.
And it's so it's more like those people that are not willing to be aware. And when you have awareness, they judge you as wrong. They judge you as crazy because you perceive
Yeah.
things that they are not willing to perceive.
And something they can't put into a box, like when they're refusing to have awareness themselves, even though they could choose it, then they have to make you wrong or reject you in some way. And that's where crazy comes in. It's sort of like a form of gaslighting in a sense, and rejection, where they can remove you from their universe rather than actually have their world expand.
So this is really an example of everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. People that are crazy. So why did I say they are crazy? Because they are actually aware, but they are not willing to be aware. So they make
That's literally crazy from my point
yes,
of view.
yes. And then now they turn it around that and say that you are crazy because you have awareness about entities. That's
Yeah,
quite crazy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Hello.
mean,
Okay. Speaking of that,
yeah,
now I have a question. Have you ever been made wrong just because you perceive entities or you see them?
not directly, not through words as such. Well, I have made myself wrong. I know that, and separated from my awareness when I was actually aware of entities. But the more and more I used the tools and things would just change, just like that, I was like, okay, I'm actually aware of entities. I'm not being crazy, or I'm not wrong, or whatever, because there's a lot of different entity awareness signs, essentially. One of them could be like this strong sense of wrongness or paranoia, or some people might have more body symptoms. Some people might have more psychological symptoms. So I wouldn't say I've been made directly wrong by anyone, but I generally have people in my life that are supportive of
How do
me and
you
my choices, and not people that, I don't put myself into situations people are like, the fuck is your problem? I used to a lot, but not anymore. Like, I'm much more interested in being around people with bodies, and entities for that fact, that
That's okay.
are interested in greater awareness. Not like people that make me right or judge me positively, but people that are willing to have their awareness and are willing to have greater awareness, through questions.
I would say that is something that is so valuable for everyone to learn. Like, who do you surround yourself with? Like, do you keep having those so-called friends that make you wrong? Because I've seen a lot of
Frenemies.
people, yeah, frenemies. I've seen a lot of people that put themselves in a place that they are not only not being supported, but they are being made wrong all the time.
Or
Um,
gaslit.
yep.
Mm.
Or judge, brainwash, gaslight, or whatever.
Yeah.
I asked you that question just now because suddenly it popped into my mind a memory of I had a friend many years
A
ago.
frenemy.
I'm not so sure. Maybe okay. I should just acknowledge that. Um, so so she had so many points of view about ghosts, spirits, entities, and of course she functioned from fear. And I didn't have fear about entities. And one day she looked at me, and this is literally what she said to me: "You are so weird. You don't have fear about entities." And then in my mind I was like, what? You living in fear, having problems, and now you are right and I'm wrong because I don't have problems. What?
You choose not to have problems. Like,
Yeah.
and can I ask you too, Ryan, did you at one point have fear with entities?
Yeah. Um, so when I was a kid, I actually perceived entities, and then I decided to shut my awareness around entities about entities because all I could see was people having fears, all the superstitious points of view, all the lies, and then I'm like, all right, enough is enough. I don't want to deal with all of this. So I became a non-believer, or should I say disbeliever of entities. I'm like, no, I don't
Yep.
believe in all these things. But I could never shut that awareness. The entities, they are still like, hey, I'm here, I'm here. We are here.
Especially when
So
you're living in Asia.
it's not just Asia, but of course in Asia you have a lot more. Okay, all
Yeah.
the ancestors.
They like really have a point of view about what they think you should choose.
Yeah, definitely. If they are just some random entities, they might not have much point of view about what you should choose. But if they are your ancestors, maybe they will have point of view like when you should get married, how many children you should have, who you should marry with.
What sort of body you should make them so they can come back again.
Yeah. Um, Now, speaking of this, let me share one real story here, real example. It's mind blowing for me, even today when I think about it. So there was once I was in India. I was attending access class. It was a 3-day class, not about entities actually. So first day, everyone was great, easy. We just got more and more lightness. And then second day was great. And then the third day, everyone went into the class like, what's going on? What's wrong? It was just so heavy and weird.
Yep.
And we couldn't really figure out why until we got the awareness that it's about entities. So what happened at that hotel? So we used one of the seminar room in the hotel to do the class. And there was a big, huge Indian wedding. Like when there was a wedding with, I don't know, maybe 2 big rich families. So there were a lot of people there.
India does weddings plus, like Bollywood style weddings. They are huge. I've been at some hotels where they've had weddings. Yeah, it's something.
And the awareness that we got at that time, that the only awareness that gave us lightness was that how many ancestor entities, maybe from that 2 families, they were not happy about that wedding, that marriage.
Wow.
And all of us in the class, we were like, what happened? It was so heavy. And they were like, oh, wow, all the entities did that. Maybe they have objection about that wedding. So it created that kind of energy like in that entire hotel.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you are in Asia, if you have a lot of ancestors, maybe they are constantly giving you points of view directly or indirectly about like, hey, it's time to get married, it's time to have children, more children.
Yeah. Yeah. And the curious thing is really to or the important thing is to ask yourself, like, what is your point of view actually? Like I mean, the acknowledgement and the recognition of what Ryan is talking about. Okay, is this ancestors? And if there's a lightness in that energy, it's like, okay, cool. So it's not really yours. So what is your point of view? So it's the recognition of what isn't yours, and then also the creation of what your reality is. And it's interesting. We were actually, Shannon and I were having a chat with the kids today because they go to boarding school since a couple of months ago, and they're with us for a week of holidays right now. And we had a chat with them this morning, and it was so interesting. It was so much more about like because they're 14 and 16 now. They're at an age where it's like, what would you like to create? What is your reality? Because it's so easy for kids, and I'm relating this to the ancestor conversation because it is sort of from when you're a child onwards and growing up. We have to be willing to claim and own what our reality is, not as a conclusion, but as a continuous unfolding question, like what is true for you. Then you're way less at the effect of other people's fixed points of views, especially when they're so close to you, like ancestors or like family. And it makes a world of difference. And that's where we're like educating the kids at the moment, because this is the first time they haven't basically been around their mother for 2 months or more. And it's a real different reality. And they're starting to, it was so cool actually this morning, they're starting to recognize now that it is about creating their reality, and that even if they have a point of view that belongs to their mother and they're bringing it out, it's still their choice. Like they're still choosing that. And what would they actually like to choose and create? If that point of view is not their point of view and doesn't work for them, then what's possible? So very similar there's this thing between like people and entities. It's a similar reality. Like if you think that entities are all knowing and all conscious and all that sort of stuff, no, they're not. It's very similar when you look out on the street of people. How many people are confused and lost and sort of just following what they think they should follow? Most entities are like that as well. There's very few entities that are actually have their reality of choosing and conscious about their choices. And so with entities, it's very similar.
If they are aware, they probably wouldn't be hanging around, maybe.
Yeah. They would, they would probably be hanging around if they want to contribute to you, or they're you know, that sort of thing, but not just, you know, drunk and disorderly like some entities are.
Yeah, they can be around by choice, not just like choicelessly just hang around.
Not out of reaction or being lost.
Yeah. But most people are just lost. I mean, even though they think they are not, but they actually are not aware of what they can choose. Or even when you ask them, hey, what would you like to choose? Most people would go blank. They'll be like, I have no idea.
Or they would tell you what they're choosing and give you all of the reasons and justifications why, which is what I said about like reactions. Like they're reacting to all of the external environments and people's points of views and how they were brought up and so forth, rather than creating their reality. And this is actually a real strong point when you're dealing with entities. You will have so much more ease if you are creating a reality as opposed to in reaction. Like Ryan started at the beginning, if you're in reaction, you'll tend to want to get rid of / clear entities rather than like know what's true for you and then deal with, like, do what's required, essentially. Use the tools and the processes and that are required to create more ease for everybody. It's like being a leader of your life, essentially. But then you're also you're always including more people and entities in that.
More people and also the entities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I kind of sense that I need to add something to that story I just talked about just now. Like, this is not about blaming the ancestors, like because of what they want us to choose.
Right.
But this is really about having awareness about who, I mean, could be those in bodies and also those without bodies, have point of view about what you should choose, what is right for you to choose. And then, of course, also you being the leader of your own life, know what is true for you and choose what actually works for you, instead of like, the ancestors want me to do that, and then I need to clear them. Sometimes it's not about clearing them, it's just about having the awareness, oh, okay, my ancestors want me to choose that, but do I want to choose that? Maybe not. So you always have choice.
Yeah. And recognize that it's okay to let them choose what they need to choose, like allowance. And this is, once again, I find so many things that work with people also then work with entities, and vice versa. Stuff that works with entities works with people. When you have more allowance to let people and entities choose whatever they need to choose, it makes your life so much easier, because you're not trying to change somebody else. And because it's just the same thing in reverse. Someone that wants to change you, that doesn't really work, because you're like, fuck you. Same way in reverse. If you try to change them in return, like, it also doesn't work unless you want your life to be difficult, essentially.
But hey, how many people want their life to be difficult? Unconsciously, that's what they want.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Like, how much less entertaining would your life be if it wasn't difficult?
Imagine this. How many people, if you go and tell them just a simple statement, life doesn't have to be difficult, and they will give you reaction like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Yeah, totally.
So what is true for you? Does life have to be difficult, or life can be easy?
Yeah. So talk to the entities, for me, has been a real gift of being more pragmatic in the world, being way more capable, and especially in a psychological sense, like knowing, perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. Like, there's this psychological ease that it has brought me with entities and with the pragmatics of everyday living, which entities are a part of.
And also know that you are not crazy.
Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes I still have to remind myself, like when my awareness gets bigger than what I've been used to, basically, and because our awareness is always growing, you know, and as fast as you would like to choose it. Yeah, so sometimes it's still like, okay, I'm not crazy. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. What else is possible? Like literally the energies of all of that.
How much of those so-called craziness is the unacknowledged awareness about entities?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Totally. And the possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So the just before we finish up shortly, but like that third part, the third thing that you'll ever do with entities, receiving. This is like a huge element. Because receiving includes everything. It's not just receiving the good stuff, the nice stuff, all of that. It's like opening to receiving all. Okay.
The good, the
And
bad,
vice
and the
versa.
ugly.
Sorry?
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Exactly. Exactly. Also about yourself. And if you're willing to receive the good, the bad, and the ugly about you, that's where the real change occurs. From my perspective, it's like when you're willing to receive you more and all of you, you have so much more available. You're not hiding from stuff. You're not hiding from yourself. And that makes a real big difference when you're dealing with entities as well.
So receiving is not about selective receiving, like I only want to receive that. Receiving is really about receiving everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my other point with that was actually is how many entities are here that actually desire to contribute to you? I know for me personally, I spent a lot of time and energy rejecting that gift that the entities were trying to be for me. And yet they were still there. Just like an amazing tree in the forest, it doesn't really care if you're receiving it or not. It's still going to be there and contribute regardless. And the entities are like that. So like when you are ready to receive greater, and part of that is the willingness to receive more of you. And when you're willing to receive that gift, it's a real reality changer. Cool.
What else can we talk about? Or
Maybe that's it, hey?
that's it.
Maybe that's it for today.
So maybe the last thing for everyone watching is like just lower your barriers, all your barriers, or as best as you can, and start to perceive and maybe also start to receive those entities that they are waiting to contribute to you. What if they are not wrong, not bad, not evil, and what if they could contribute?
Totally. Yeah. So thank you so much, guys, for being on this live. And if you're watching all of October with the Talk to Entities facilitators, thank you as well. It's so cool to have so many Talk to Entities facilitators globally. I see them constantly stepping up to greater and greater and greater and what's possible. So if you see that as an inspiration, like consider checking out some Talk to Entities classes, because what we're doing is giving you guys a taste. If you really choose to step into more of this, it's once, like I said before, a reality changer. Like what else can you receive and be with the spirit world that is priceless, essentially.
Or it's like everything in excess is really about all of life comes to us with ease, joy, and glory. So we don't just talk to the entities just because we have nothing else to do. It's really about the expansion of our life.
Yeah. And the expansion of your life and the expansion of the reality on this planet. Cool. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ryan. Grateful for you.
Bye
How's
bye.
it getting better? Bye, everyone.
Bye.